Okay. My apologies. We are going to, we've already opened the hearing. A quorum being present on the evening of Wednesday, September 28th. I'm opening the hearing of the meeting of the Conservation Commission, and we're proceeding with the first continuation of public hearings. The Bellingham Conservation Commission will hold a public meeting in accordance with the Wetlands Protection Act, General Law, Chapter 131, Section 40 of the Bellingham Wetlands Protection Bylaw, on the notice of intent for the proposal to construct a commercial building with associated stormwater management system located within a 100-foot buffer zone to bordering vegetated wetlands at Assessor's Map 0004, Parcel 72, 455 Hartford Avenue, Bellingham. Mitch Vasalanka, Goddard Consulting, Northborough, Mass. Has submitted the filing on behalf of Moshe Tyus, Goddard Properties, Milford, Mass. Continuation will be held online via the Zoom option on Wednesday, September 28th at 7. At the applicant's request, we are going to continue this hearing in order to provide peer review comments and then the applicant to respond to the peer review comments. I'm going to request a motion to continue the hearing to the evening of October 26th at 7.
So moved.
Second.
Ariane, discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, recognizing the voices, I won't call for a roll call on that. It is a unanimous vote, and the hearings are continued. Our next hearing is for Lake Street and Prospect Street. It's scheduled for 7:15, but in order we can take advantage of 10 extra minutes, and it's always what we like to do. So I'm going to make a statement for the record that in the event that someone should show up to participate in the hearing and they did not get the first 10 minutes of the meeting, we will give them an update and proceed from there. So the Bellingham Conservation Commission will hold continuations of public hearings in accordance with the Wetlands Protection Act, General Law, Chapter 131, Section 40, and the Bellingham Wetlands Protection Bylaw, on the notice of intent for the proposed 19-lot residential subdivision entitled Prospect Hill Estates, located at Assessor's Map 69, Parcel 87, Map 65, Parcels 20 and 22 off Lake Street, Bellingham, and Prospect Street, Franklin. The project includes 19 residential lots, roadway, utilities, grading, and stormwater management system. The project proposes impacts of 35 linear feet to bank, 80 square feet of land under water bodies, 490 square feet of bordering vegetated boarding land subject to flooding, 580 square feet of bordering vegetated wetlands within 1,200 square feet of replication, with 1,200 square feet of replication, and total impacts to a riverfront area of 126,674 square feet. That includes 52,049 square feet of inner riparian area and 74,625 square feet of outer riparian area. Paul McManus, Ecotech Grove Street, Worcester, has submitted the filing on behalf of Louis Petrozzi, Wall Street Development, Westwood, Mass. The continuation will be held online via the Zoom option on Wednesday, September 28th at 7:15, and we are 8 minutes early, so we'll take advantage of that time if there are no complaints. Okay. Okay, I see Bob Truax is here, and I see Luke Petrozzi's here. We have our peer reviewers present, Matt Byrne and Dominic Rinaldi. Okay. what I'd like to do tonight is go over the enforcement order. But prior to going over the enforcement order, there is an outstanding issue, and I want to raise this and find out if the applicant has any information to provide relative to the progress made on the determination that the Franklin Planning Board made relative to the inability of a person in another town to access property through their through the town of Franklin. So I don't know if Bob or if Lou are going to address that. We've addressed this. We've asked this question since the very first hearing. In the reason it's germane is because if indeed the town of Franklin's bylaw will prohibit access, then we don't need to spend any more time, effort, or funds on the project. So can somebody give me an update on that?
Can you hear me all right?
You can hear you, Lou.
Okay, I'm having a little technical difficulty. I'm on my cell phone tonight because my computer decided to update at the last minute.
Oh, you know, I hate that.
Yeah, it's taking forever. So anyways, regarding your question regarding access from Franklin to Prospect Street, the planning board has asked us for a legal opinion, and I believe a legal opinion will be prepared by our attorney, Jay Tallerman, who will submit it to the planning board prior to the next planning board meeting. And we don't believe Franklin has an argument or a reason to prohibit this roadway from being accessed to Prospect Street. And, you know, especially particular to this situation is that there are no lots being created in Franklin, and it's not subject to the subdivision control law in Franklin. And so that regulation that they are referring to is inapplicable to this particular situation.
Okay, we know Jay quite well. Has Jay spoken directly to the planning board in Franklin to
quite honestly, I have no idea. I mean, I referred the matter to him couple of weeks ago. He might have gone on vacation, but I do believe he has the basis of what our legal position is, and we'll be presenting it to the planning board
and to Franklin.
Well, Franklin is
Franklin has already issued Lou. Franklin has issued an opinion, so Jay will need to talk to Franklin to make sure that they understand that your contention is that because you can make a presentation to the commission or to the planning board in Bellingham, but these aren't our rules.
No, but the opinion that you're suggesting was, I have not seen a legal opinion from Franklin. Have you?
They wrote a letter saying that they have a bylaw, and according to
well, Mr. Chairman, not to interrupt, but I mean, they have a regulation in their subdivision control law that states that they will not allow a subdivision roadway to cross over into another town. That is not a bylaw, it's a regulation that applies to subdivisions, not to subdivisions in Franklin, not to subdivisions in Bellingham. So I don't want to belabor this point because
let me introduce.
Sure.
Okay. The proposed subdivision plan is showing both egresses located in Franklin. The board wants to bring your attention to a subdivision bylaw that Franklin has implemented. Section 310B 4B states that roads shall not provide access to undeveloped land in other towns. The planning board is also concerned about which town is responsible for services, fire, police, etc., that will attend the proposed subdivision. Let's go back. It says roads shall not provide access to undeveloped land in other towns. So
okay, well, that's our argument with Franklin. Then it's not really germane to the Conservation Commission in Bellingham.
Lou, it does affect what's going to go on with the Conservation Commission, because we've already put an enormous amount of work into this project. And if indeed Franklin can prevent development in Bellingham, let's get it solved now. Now, we asked you to do this 6 months ago.
Well, I became aware of the letter just last month at the last planning board meeting. So we immediately, once we've realized or recognized that the planning board wanted the issue resolved for their own benefit, we did our due diligence, and we've followed up with and we'll be following it up with a legal opinion to the planning board.
To the planning board
because the town, just because a town writes a regulation in their subdivision control law regulation doesn't mean it's a valid regulation. So,
hey Lou,
yeah,
listen to me, okay? It's Franklin's rule. If Franklin's rule carries the day, there's no project, and we're wasting our time. And now, this letter was written in June of this year. So all I can say is, I'm sorry, but we need you to get something from Franklin, or we need Jay to get something from Franklin to demonstrate to us that there is going to be a viable project. Okay.
I understand, but that's a subdivision issue. It's not a conservation issue. It's a subdivision matter with the planning board, and we will.
Under our local bylaw, there is no project unless it meets all planning and zoning regulations. We don't specify what town. We don't specify what town.
All right. Listen. You can have those semantics, but I'm pretty confident in my position and our position. And if Franklin wants to litigate this particular issue, I'm happy to do so. But the planning board can certainly, and the Conservation Commission can certainly make a condition on that matter being resolved before any construction commences. So I don't feel that it's an obstacle to the Conservation Commission or the planning board to continue with deliberating this project.
Well, we could get an opinion from the commission, because we could certainly say, without permission from Franklin or a legal determination from Franklin, there could be no project.
I don't think that you have, well, I'm not going to get into it. If you want to ask your town council for their opinion, I'm happy to hear about it.
No, this is something that Franklin has brought.
I'm aware. I'm aware, and appreciate the Conservation Commission's concern. Like I said, we'll get our legal opinion, and then if the town wants to obtain an opinion from their town council, or Franklin wants to get an opinion from their town council, happy to have that discussion.
Okay, we will need some sort of opinion, because your opinion alone will not suffice. We need something from Franklin, because they're governing. So let's move on to the enforcement order, because we can argue this all night and we're going to get nowhere with it.
I don't want to argue it. I'm surprised that the commission's bringing it up, but we'll deal with it as appropriately, and Jay, I'm sure, will provide the opinion that's necessary, and I think it will be satisfactory.
Okay, so then, that being the case, let's move on to the enforcement order. Let's see if we can get some headway there, and hopefully we can make more progress than we just made. So, does everyone have the document in front of them?
Yep, looking at it right now.
Okay, awesome. So, on the first page, paragraph 1, where the commission is quoted as saying the applicant knowingly and intentionally removed boulders and stone located within a regulated area BVW without a permit at the existing culvert in a direct attempt to alter the riparian zone. And it was stated that we didn't quote the section of law, Mass General Law, Chapter 131, Section 40, clearly says that any kind of activity that will alter a resource area is in violation. So we're addressing that right now. That's kind of a minor thing. what we want to do is we want to go to page 2, and we have some description here about Varney Brothers since the 1960s, using a gravel operation, and the culvert and gravel roadway remain in existence today and continues to allow vehicular access to the rear portion of the property. Although the site has not been actively graveled for decades. The next paragraph, the order states that that Wall Street knowingly and intentionally removed boulders and stones, and you state that the opposite, in fact, is true. Wall Street or its agents cleaned the existing 24-inch culvert from any debris, leaves, branches, and other vegetation to allow the culvert to function properly and to allow proper flow of Folk Brook through the culvert. This contradicts directly statements that you, Lou, made in the field in the presence of our administrator and our peer reviewer, where you said you removed boulders.
No, absolutely not. And it's absolutely not true what you're saying. And Paul McManus was there as well. And Rob Truex will testify that he helped clean the culvert of branches and debris. Please, I'm not, listen, you guys can do whatever you want, okay? But I'm not gonna get into the semantics of who said what. Under the regulations, it's a permitted activity. That's where we stand.
Okay, all right. You say that we're mistaken in the belief that the ponding upstream of the culvert was a long-standing condition. You were kind enough to provide us with photographic evidence of activity on the site, and in your photograph of 1960, as provided by our peer reviewer, that area in question was flooded to the extent that we saw before you removed the impediment. So that statement is incorrect.
Mr. Chairman, are you saying, as your consultant had indicated in his letter, that this is an impoundment of the stream?
No.
Is that what you're arguing?
No, what we're saying is that the condition that we saw before the impediment was removed.
Yeah, well.
Follow me, I'll speak slowly and carefully. When we went out there in the spring, there was a ponded area to the north of the crossing.
Yeah, right. So the culvert was not functioning.
Excuse me, I'm speaking. It's the commission's contention that this is a historic condition and that this impoundment, this area, is a normal condition. And photographic evidence from 1960 shows exactly the same impoundment. So your statement that we're incorrect is wrong.
All right, so I would argue then, Mr. Chairman, that if it's an impoundment,
Bob, Truax,
I think
we
lost him.
You can't walk around and talk on your phone while you're losing it.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Paul's there, okay.
So if you, I don't know how to explain our position here, but if the commission is going to insist on this culvert being clogged up, and for the simple reason of trying to expand the distance of the river, the outer riparian zone, and leaving it clogged up, then we should just not put a stream, we should not put a stream channel across that portion of we should just leave it the way it is and just fill over it then.
Well, no, actually, what happens is this becomes a moot point, and we'll get to the alternatives analysis a little later, but this becomes a moot point because you don't qualify for a limited project. And this one I'll argue with Paul, but you clearly do not qualify as a limited project. So all of this goes away.
I don't know where you're headed, Mr. Chairman. I don't know where you're headed with this. If you want to discuss the alternatives, we're happy to discuss them.
No,
if,
I'm not.
If you're not, if the commission is,
Lou, we are discussing the enforcement order, and what we're saying is that this pre-existing condition that we're arguing about right now becomes a moot point. Now, I'm going to direct Paul's attention to the regs, section 10.02, 23C, Paul. Look that one up.
I'm sorry, 10.02.
10.02, 23C. And it talks about existing structures before 1960 aren't offered the same protections of those after 1960. So check that out.
It's not the Rivers Act, though.
No, it's not. Paul, are you hearing me? He's looking it up now. Our peer reviewers here, Matt, are you're in line with me here?
Yeah.
Okay.
So what this is getting at whether or not this constitutes regular maintenance of a stormwater management system. And it just because of the age of the system, the culvert going back at least into the 60s, the work that was done just doesn't qualify for the exemption under 10.02 for management, sort of maintenance of a stormwater management system. That's what Cliff's driving at.
Okay, well,
I would agree. I mean, I don't think it qualifies in the first instance as a stormwater management system. I mean, so I wouldn't.
Yeah, it's not designed that way. So there's no work that you can do in terms of maintenance that qualifies as regular maintenance here when there's a significant impact to the resource as a result of the activity.
Well, I guess really the issue is, and this is interesting because not prompted by me whatsoever, but I was doing a training session last week, and Mia McDonald from DEP mentioned that maintenance and cleaning out of culverts is an activity that regularly occurs, and it's not a jurisdictional activity. So that was her comment, and again, unrelated context, not prompted by me in any way, shape, or form. But that was her comment. I guess my other thing. So again, I agree with Matt that this is not maintenance of a stormwater system, because it's not a stormwater system. It's a culvert. It's a culvert. Excuse me, on a stream, and that's what we've identified it as from the get-go. But I guess really the question is it, having said that, and I think people would agree that it's a culverted, it's a culverted jurisdictional stream. My question is was there an alteration to the resource area? Was there an alteration? Was there an alteration to bank? Was there an alteration to land underwater?
Yeah, you changed the hydrology completely.
Jesus Christ.
Excuse me?
I mean, but the action you took changed the hydrology of the system. It may have been an impacted hydrology that led to the condition, but that's been your own notice of intent filing demonstrated that condition goes back at least into 1961.
I mean, clearly the culvert, I have to imagine even without a clog is bound to be undersized, during certain times of year. And then obviously when it gets, when sticks and leaves and whatnot get in it, it becomes further undersized. So I guess really if you step back and look at it though, when it was opened up and it was flowing, there was a very obvious channel was visible there, and very shortly after it was opened up and the water level dropped, a very significant percentage of that channel became vegetated primarily with sensitive fern.
Sure, but I mean, what you've done is you've exposed the thalweg of the stream, which is reasonable to expect that there would be one. And by draining that area, you simply exposed what is the natural thalweg of the stream. And if you remember my walking across the exposed area that has been colonized by sensitive fern, I went down to my knee in mud. That's not a bank. That's the land underwater. That is the stream.
And if I may just interrupt, there were clearly sensitive fern colonizations taking place, but they were, and I'm estimating here, 100, 150 feet upstream from the crossing site. The area that was drained was 100% mud. There was no vegetation there, Paul. It was mud. In fact, we thought we were going to lose Matt when he walked across there.
It was mud. I saw him go in and get mud on his boots, on and probably in.
And there was no.
I don't think that necessarily makes it. I mean, if that were the flow channel, I guess I just don't accept the conclusion that because there's muck there, it's not part of the channel. I mean, clearly the flow channel developed. I don't think the sensitive fern was limited to an area 100, 150 feet up.
So hear me out on this, because this is I believe, I'm hoping, a scientific discussion here. And so if the area was mud, it would indicate that it was flooded enough on a regular basis enough so that it would preclude vegetation. And that would be consistent with the orthophotography that we saw from 1960. That area was underwater. And when we first visited the site, and we visited the site to do the wetland delineation on the west side, that area was underwater. So what we're saying is that condition is the normal condition in the spring. We understand the concept of bankfall. However, it's mean high annual water. And, if we see a demonstration from the 60s of that water going to the area where it was originally determined on the first plan of record, then we think that that's pretty solid evidence that is indeed mean high annual water. And the interesting thing about this is that as soon as the impediment was removed, the plans were revised, and mean high annual water showed the stream channel. And we strongly disagree with that.
Well, that's been clear. Let me suggest this. The regs say that the boundary mean annual high water in most instances is the bank, which is the mean annual high water or first significant break in slope, whichever is lower, starting from land underwater. And then the regs go on to say that there are certain conditions where the bank is not the mean annual high water, and you need to satisfy two of those criteria. And I've looked at that, and I don't think that what I'll call the flat mud area that Matt got mud in his boots. I don't think that area qualifies for two of those conditions. So I guess what I would suggest is that maybe we, take the regs, go stand out there, and look at those criteria.
I agree. I think that was kind of where I was going to make a recommendation. This is an important issue, but it's really for the relative to the enforcement order. This is a red herring that is, kind of bogging us down. This needs to be resolved. What is the mean annual high water? Where is the bank and all that? But that is a field discussion. I agree with you 100%. I think I just want to point out, for the commission's sake, I don't know if I had a chance to mention this earlier, but the salient point here relative to the enforcement order was action taken that should have been conducted under a permit. Was clearing out the culvert something that should have gone through the permitting process. And I think we all agree that we're talking about a river here, a perennial stream, and so work in a perennial stream is subject to 310 CMR 10.58. And one of the things that was brought up in the response to the enforcement order was that the activity there was exempted under 10.58(6)(a). And I just want to point out the end of that paragraph says changes in existing conditions which will remove, fill, dredge, or alter the riverfront area are subject to 310 CMR 10.58. So at the bottom of the ledger, the activity of clearing out that culvert resulted in an alteration of the hydrology of that riverfront. And so it was subject to permitting under the Wetlands Protection Act. And so by having done it without permission, without an order of conditions, it's a violation of the Wetlands Protection Act, and the enforcement order is valid given that. And so I think, point number one, the violation number one is a valid violation that needs to be addressed according to the enforcement order.
See, I guess I don't accept your premise, because taken to its logical extreme, if there's a 10-inch culvert and a kid puts a basketball in it that plugs the culvert entirely, is removing the basketball a violation?
If it
Changes
occurs
in existing conditions, I don't know.
If you have evidence,
The basketball.
If you have
The basketball has been there since 1960.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know what, apparently there's a photo that shows the area ponded from 1960, which doesn't surprise me. Most of the air photos are taken in the springtime in a leaf off condition for obvious reasons. And as I said,
you've demonstrated that's the typical condition of that stream.
Well, see, I guess that's I don't agree with that premise.
But you show it in 1961 aerial photographs and 1997 aerial photographs. You provided those photos demonstrating the flooded condition.
That at times it floods, as I said. I'm sure that with no impediment to the channel, during high flow periods, I'm sure the water backs up because the culvert's not very big relative to the watershed.
Mr. Chairman.
Yeah.
So I happen to be sitting here in front of my aerial photographs that I provided. You're right. In 1961, there was a backup at that crossing. But every other photograph after that, aerial photograph, all the way up until 2001, 3, 5, 6, all show it as with no water being backed up at that location. In fact, it shows the culvert significantly wider in 2001, which you claim that it's been decades since they operated, but the aerial photographs clearly show that there was no backup from 1975 to today, to the present day.
Check 1997.
So that's like
Listen.
four snapshots. It was clearly
So,
underwater.
so Mr. Chair, what would you like us to do to rectify this situation? I don't want, listen, we're not talking about a lot of area here. What would you like us to do? Would you want us to file for a permit?
I think what I'm going to suggest is that we meet out in the field.
Okay.
And we ask our peer reviewer to be there, the commission to be there, you to be there, your representative to be there, and we can deal with this, and we can deal with the second portion of the enforcement order, because we don't need to be contentious here. We'll go out in the field, and we'll look. Okay, we'll look at it.
Yeah, so, that's fair. That's a fair option, Mr. Chairman. I'm more than happy to bring together my team to meet with the commission and their consultant, and we can discuss it out in the field, and then decide what you want us to do with it.
Okay, so what I'm going to do, we have a couple of other hearings coming up. What I would like to do is continue this to about 8:10, and then we can get to the alternatives analysis, if that's if everyone agrees to that. In the meantime, before we do that, I think sooner is better than later. I know that Matt Bird is available this Saturday between 12 and 4. Is there anyone on the commission who can do that? I know normally we go out at 8 o'clock in the morning, but this is an important issue, and we've made very little progress on this project since the initial filing, and I'd really like to start moving this thing along. So is anyone on the commission hopefully available?
I think I am.
And if my time frame it doesn't work for the commission generally, I can make adjustments.
I like your time frame.
I cannot make it, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah, you did respond. Mike?
I could make it, although I would feel more comfortable knowing if Franklin was going to shoot this whole project down, we wouldn't be wasting a lot of time.
You know, we have kind of beaten that to death, and we've directed the applicant to have his legal counsel get a decision from Franklin, because his legal counsel's decision to us, or his opinion to us, carries no weight, because we aren't the regulatory authority, it's Franklin. So I understand where you're coming from. We've made that request. It's important information. And so, you know, failure to provide important information is a problem. So Mike can make it. Ariane, you can make it.
Excuse me, Mr. Chairman. My speaker is not doing well. Did you say this Saturday you're trying for?
Yes.
Because I can't make it, unfortunately, on Saturday.
Oh boy. What about Sunday?
No, we don't do Sundays.
All right.
I could make a week from Saturday, Mr. Chairman.
The 15th.
Yes, sir.
The 8th.
Could I, Mr. Chairman, could I suggest that that maybe and to perhaps try to move things forward, that maybe Matt and I go out there someday during the week?
I want the commission to be there. Really, Paul.
Okay.
The commission, it was the commission's initiative to enact the enforcement order. And I think representatives of the commission should really be there, Paul.
Okay, that's fine. Just I know oftentimes commissions like the consultants to go out and you know, bang around and get dirty, and then each can report back. So
Paul, you know
that's
what?
fine.
I can understand why commissions would do that, but we like to get dirty too.
And Mr. Petrosi was correct. It is the 8th. I can do the 8th.
Yeah,
oh, the 8th.
You guys want to try a week?
The 8th is a week from Saturday, the 8th.
I'm on a plane on the 8th.
Oh, okay. Okay, so that doesn't work.
Flying really low.
What about in the afternoon? What about a late afternoon?
It gets dark too early. this could take a couple of hours by the time the commission. I'm going to say October 15th. Neil, how's that look?
Beautiful.
Mike. Good for me.
Ariane.
I don't know at this point, but probably.
Okay. Noel, any chance?
Yes, there's a chance. It's a good potential.
This is looking promising. Paul, how about you?
I think so. I'll make it work. This is a Saturday morning we're talking?
It's a Saturday morning, yeah. Would it be advantageous to schedule it for a little later in the morning? We usually go out at 8 o'clock. I know it makes it difficult for people who are traveling.
No, that's fine. For me, Mr. Chairman, I'd just soon get it done and have the rest of my Saturday.
Okay. So I think that we have a consensus. I think that we can get out in the field. We'll be able to address some of these enforcement issues, and hopefully be able to also maybe take a look at some of the degraded riverfront area, make a determination there, or at least provide some guidance, as well as potentially bring up some of the issues that we're going to get later this evening when we do the continuation relative to the alternatives. So it looks like 8 o'clock is okay. Is 8:30 better?
I can come anytime.
You're whatever the commission wants, just tell me and I'll be there.
Well, we're driving from 5 minutes away. What about you?
I'm a little longer, but I don't know where Matt comes from, but I'm probably 40 minutes, but whatever. I'll make it work.
Let's do 8:30.
I'm an hour, but it's fine.
Let's do 8:30. How's that?
All right.
On the 15th, Mr. Chairman.
On the 15th, I will entertain a motion to conduct a site inspection on Saturday morning, the 15th. It'll be rain or shine at 8:30, and to continue the hearing to tonight at the evening of 8:10.
And Mr. Chairman, we'll meet at the same spot that we met the last time.
Sure.
Next to those where that house is going in the frontage.
Sure. It'll be to the east of where that house is being built.
Yeah.
Is it east or
So
south?
moved.
I would say south, but
okay.
I think I'm guessing south.
That doesn't matter. It's only.
Okay. So 8:30 Saturday the 15th on the frontage at that clearing there.
Will someone move the motion, please?
Moved by Ariane and seconded by Mike.
Okay.
Yeah, you get that?
Moved by Ariane, seconded by Mike. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay. Recognizing voice. That's a unanimous vote. All right. We'll see you all. Well, we'll see you all in half hour. Okay. The Bellingham Conservation Commission will hold a public meeting in accordance with the Wetlands Protection Act, General Law, Chapter 131, Section 40 of the Bellingham Wetlands Protection Bylaw, and the request for determination of applicability for the proposal to excavate and install 3 sonotube footings and construct a 14 by 13 foot addition onto an existing dwelling located within a 100-foot buffer zone to Lake Hiawatha at Assessor's Map 74, Parcel 52, 89 Lakeshore Drive. It's filed by Thomas Hickey, 26 North Mead Street, Charlestown. The meeting will be held online via the Zoom option on Wednesday, September 28th at 2022. Mr. Hickey, I see you.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, ladies and gentlemen.
Okay. Do you have the ability to show your plan? Oh, there he is. do you have the ability to show your proposal?
I thought that was all submitted with the town earlier.
Okay, it was. Normally what we do is during the hearing process, the applicant will provide a share screen with the proposal. I'm going to ask if someone on the commission could access our Dropbox and put that up for us.
Yeah, sure. Just give me a minute and I'll pull it up.
Thank you, Noel.
Thank you.
Oh, let's see. Okay. I'll pull up the plan first.
I think that's probably all we'll need.
Okay. I'll need the access, Cliff.
Oh,
to share
sorry.
screen. It's all right.
Have you got it?
Yep. Okay. All right. This out of the way. It is upside down. I don't think I can rotate it with
Yeah,
this.
it's upside down. That's okay. We can read a plan upside down.
Yeah, we're good. Okay.
Okay. So, this is on Lake Hiawatha.
Correct.
And I think that the commission will recall that this is the applicant for the house next door where he built a single family dwelling. There's a pretty steep embankment.
That's putting it mildly.
I'm sorry?
That's putting it mildly.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
It's a very steep embankment.
So the commission does remember. So Mr. Hickey, why don't you just walk us through what you're proposing here?
All right, I'm just proposing to attach a 13 by 14 dining room to what we're looking at right now, the left end of the house. Right now, our family is growing with grandchildren and everyone. They like going there. And right now, we have a table for 4, and there's 10 of us. And we'd like to do some improvements to the house right now. And, eventually in the next year or two, when my wife does retire, we're going to be spending most of our time there. So we're thinking about putting in an HVAC system and making it more or less our permanent residence.
Okay, it makes sense. The area between the existing house and Lake Hiawatha is yard, it's grass.
Yes,
it's
open
maintained.
space.
Okay.
Yep, maintained.
So how many sonotubes are you proposing? 3?
3 2-foot sonotubes. So
Okay.
the area of disturbance would be somewhere around 40 square feet.
Okay. So the administrator and myself took the opportunity to review the site and take a look at it. And the proposed extension is in line with the main body of the house. The rear of the house, the addition to the back of the house is on a similar structure. It's sonotubes with, I believe it's a steel beam. Is it a steel or is it wood?
LVL.
Oh, okay.
Beams. Yes.
So it's strong. Same situation here.
Yes.
Okay. So the excavation for the sonotubes will be the only disturbance in the 100-foot buffer zone. The applicant's proposing silt fence. And considering that the digging will probably take place in 1 day, maybe 2 days. it's our recommendation that we close the meeting and issue a negative determination.
With the conditions of the silt fence and erosion control measures, Mr.
We
Chairman.
can put that in there. They show on the plan, but we can certainly.
Let's, yeah, if we could, please.
Yep.
They are already installed.
Even better.
I installed them last week and I was bored.
Mr. Hickey's not messing around.
So moved.
But we will put that in, we'll put that in the permit.
Okay, great.
So I'll entertain a motion. I think I already did. And I think
So moved
Ariane
again.
moved the motion.
I was very eager because of his eagerness to approve this or issue a negative determination.
Is there a second?
Second.
Quick question, Mr. Chair. The ground underneath where the sonotubes are, under that addition, is that all going to be open, or is it going to have on the uphill side any kind of something to deter the flow of water, surface water over the future?
There will be, if need be, some kind of 1 foot high retaining wall block or something to slow it down. And the land itself right now is pretty well established and covered. So whatever we disturb, we would replace as alike.
Uphill you're talking about is pretty well covered.
Yeah, oh yes.
Yeah.
Yes, we're not gonna go touch any of it.
I just couldn't picture the road and the exact drop that Neil was talking about well enough to picture whether, but knowing some of the other properties around there are pretty steep, that they're not be by that raised surface with just sonotubes on that side, not anything provision for down the road. But it sounds like you got it covered. Okay.
Yeah, if there wasn't ground cover, Mike, there wouldn't be any dirt there right now anyway, given the slope.
That makes the
Exactly.
excavation easier.
That's true.
You wouldn't have to dig so deep for the sonotubes. I'm fine, thanks.
Okay, any other discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor?
Aye.
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 I'm
That's
missing
great.
someone. Opposed? Okay, by unanimous vote. We'll work on that permit and we'll talk to the commission when the hearings are closed to determine when we can sign this stuff. Okay. Thank
Okay.
you very much.
Thank you very much.
All right.
All righty.
Good night.
Good night.
All right, we have our next request for determination is for Lakeview Avenue. I gotta find the paperwork here. That's 455. I got it. Got piles of paper all over the floor here. Okay, the Bellingham Conservation Commission will hold a public meeting in accordance with the Wetlands Protection Act, General Law, Chapter 131, Section 40, and the Bellingham Wetlands Protection Bylaw, and a request for determination of applicability of the proposal to cut and remove 9 trees located within a 100-foot buffer zone to Silver Lake at Assessors Map 69, Parcel 1120, Lakeview Avenue, Bellingham, and filed by Jerry Ferris, Lakeview Avenue, Bellingham. The meeting will be held online via the Zoom option on Wednesday, September 28th at 8. And I see Jerry Ferris is here. Oh, there he is. Okay.
Hello, good evening.
How are you?
Great.
Do you have the ability to share your screen on Zoom?
I do not, I'm sorry.
So it's okay.
I did submit a plan.
You did submit a plan for individual homeowners. It's sometimes a bit of a challenge to deal with
Yep.
the technology. So we're going to rely on the wall again.
That'd be great.
Yep, 1 minute, I'll pull it up. Gonna see if I can get this one to rotate.
Yeah, try to get right side up this time, will you?
Well, you know what we always say, there's no upside down on a plan.
Yeah, you have to download them first. No.
Oh yeah, I just did it. And here we go. Okay. All right.
So just to orient ourselves, at Cross Street, if you make a turn onto Blackmar Street, in about 100 yards, Blackmar Street makes a left and it becomes Lakeview Avenue, and that 100-yard section leads almost directly to Mr. Ferris's property. The administrator and I were there, and now at this point, I'll let Mr. Ferris explain what he wants to do and why.
Yeah, so there's a couple of different points. I'm putting solar on the roof. I did get a permit for that. And some of the trees are kind of clustering over it, but I bought the property in 2019, and in the big cluster in the middle there, the 24-inch to remove the cluster, that's overhanging my deck and my roof. And every time the wind blows, that's the first set of trees that gets hit. So it's dropping some pretty big limbs down on my roof. So it's making me and my insurance company a little nervous. The white pine in the middle, my septic is right in that dead area between the driveway and the house.
That's the 34-inch, Jed?
Yeah, that's a big pine. And every time we have a heavy snow, it's dropping huge limbs, as well as I'm sure the roots are growing up into my septic. So I don't think that's such a hot idea. And then the two trees that are around my driveway, again, you know, every time the wind's blowing, my car's there. I'm kind of parking up on my walkway to make sure that it doesn't get hit by trees. So I was looking to kind of take those trees that are in red out, and then the trees that are kind of just circles that would remain, you know, it was like an old weeping willow, a couple of trees here and there on each of the corners. I actually uncovered a couple of apple trees I didn't know were there when I bought the house. And then there's a small pine right on the edge of the road. It's kind of growing up into the wires. So I'd like to take that down as well. That's about the long and short of it.
Okay, so dealing with forestry and taking seminars on forestry, the first thing we look at is targets. And is a tree where a request is being made for removal, does that target a structure? So we'll start with the cluster in the back. I think there's about 4 of them, and,
yep.
and 3 of them are leaning over the house. And the administrator and I looked at it. In our opinion, they present somewhat of a hazard. There's a 20-inch diameter red oak. It's not dead. It's not healthy. And it's very proximate to a shed there. The 34-inch white pine appears to be a pretty healthy tree. However, the fact that it's growing into Mr. Ferris's septic system is more than a little problematic, especially considering his proximity to the lake. And the 14-inch diameter red oak on the right, it's diseased. It's clearly, the tree is on the verge of death. Unfortunately, we see a lot of this with our white and red oaks. A few years back, we had 3 consecutive years of complete deforestation, and it killed a lot of trees. I know on our property, it killed a couple of 200-year-old white oaks. The 30-inch white pine looked like a pretty healthy tree. However, we were parked in a driveway and a branch from that tree fell on our car. So we can certainly understand the applicant's concern about that. The last
I staged that for you. I staged that.
Well, it was an illustration.
The songs gave it away.
We didn't. We parked there, and the administrator said, "It's that noise," and there's a branch on top of the car. So And then the last one, it's actually that 18-inch, it looks like it's partially in the road. The root system is lifting the road and the sidewalk. It's growing up it's about 12 feet from the house. You know, we spent more time than normal here. The applicant wasn't present, and that's sometimes a good thing because we could discuss it and come up with an opinion. Our opinion is that, you know, he's saving the trees that deserve to be saved. And
my apologies if you can hear me.
The trees that need to be cut are, I think, properly targeted. Does anybody have any questions?
No, I was concerned, Mr. Chairman, about the, you know, so many trees coming down, but based on your observations in the field, I'll go with that.
You know, it's interesting, Mr. Vice Chair, because looking at the plan before we went to the site, I was convinced that, you know, it was just one of these situations where, hey, we're gonna be convenient. We're gonna have the guys here. We're gonna take out a bunch of trees, but we looked at them on a case-by-case basis, and I think our recommendation is that we allow the removal.
Yeah, it looks like clear cutting, but you know, based on your field observations, that makes more sense.
And they are leaving some trees there, and they were all healthy trees. So I have one question, Mr. Ferris. Do you have a vendor in mind to perform the removal?
I think he might have stepped out for a minute or something.
China different.
We're getting a little feedback there. I just wanted to know who he has in mind as a vendor. I know.
I'm sorry, I'm over here now. I switched to my phone. I missed the last 5 minutes.
Okay. What we're asking is that if you know who your vendor is going to be, if you talk to tree cutters. I just wanted to know. Okay, I guess we've got some technical difficulties. I suppose it's not critical that we know who the vendor is. We have had some success with a couple of vendors. I was hoping it would be one of them.
Maybe if we just give him a minute or two. Probably just trying to figure it out.
Well,
let us know when you're ready.
All right.
Mr. Chair, I got a quick question. Is there any regulation, or is it totally discretionary for us within, everything looks like it's within 50 feet, 100 feet? I can't tell, there's no dimension on here, but pretty close to the lake. When we're this close to a resource area like that, is this forestry issue?
In situations like this, Mike, what happens is, you know, these are properties that have been developed and utilized for decades, and the lawns extend to the water's edge. I would think that the whole lot is probably about 120 feet from the water's edge. It's an estimate. But
you mean the uphill side, the street side of the lot, the depth of it is only about 120 feet total?
From the water to the street.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
But if this was an undeveloped lot, they want to put a house in, we wouldn't necessarily want to approve as many tree cuttings, correct? Because targeted, for one example, would be speculative, because you don't have the house yet, and you didn't drop it on your car or anything like that.
Well, so, if there was no development on the lot, it would be a difficult lot to permit. But let's just say that it was, let's just say that the rear of the proposed house was 100 feet away. Many of those trees would be jurisdictional, and the footprint of the house would probably be more toward the center of the lot. And during the development of the lot, there would be tree clearing.
Right.
So I don't know what happened to Mr. Ferris, but
It's a little shy of 100 feet, but it's probably more like 80 deep, Mike.
Yeah, right. It doesn't look very deep.
But it's all developed.
Yeah, I've been to enough of those properties for site
Yeah. Yeah. We've spent enough time down by the lake.
Yeah, I didn't have some look by it. Yeah.
all right, well, rather than wait for the applicant, I think that I can detect a consensus here. So I will entertain a motion to close the meeting and issue a negative determination.
So moved.
Mike?
Second.
Brian? Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I detected everybody, so that's a unanimous vote. Thank you very much. I'm sure that
Yeah, it'll reach out to you.
I'm wondering if this person is okay.
Who else?
Anyway, in any event, okay. So we're all set.
I'm sorry, this is Mr. Ferris again.
Okay.
I got booted. I'm really sorry.
No problem. We just closed your hearing and we voted to allow you to proceed, but don't do so until you have the permit. The question that I had was, have you chosen a vendor yet?
I have not.
Okay.
I got 3 in mind. So if you guys have recommendations, I'd be willing to take any
Unfortunately,
recommendations.
we can't provide recommendations because it could be perceived as a conflict. But
yep, no.
There are some people in the area who are very good.
Yep. There's a guy across from the beach. I've already talked to him about it. He was the one that pushed me into your direction. So.
Okay, well, that's encouraging. All right, then we're all set.
Okay, apologies again. Sorry about that.
Oh, no problem.
Yay.
Yay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So now, I'm not going to read the whole advertisement again because we continued this from earlier in the meeting, but I'm going to reopen and continue the hearing for the 19-lot subdivision, roadways, utilities, and stormwater management, known as Prospect Hills. Okay. And okay, so we'll take a look at the alternatives analysis here. And
Mr. Chairman, I can share my screen if that would be helpful.
sure, that would be helpful.
Oh, it says host disabled participant screen sharing.
Try again.
Is that you, Noel?
Yeah, that was me. I just
you closing him out?
No, it wasn't me.
Casey's trying to punk us.
Oh no, hopefully not.
It's now letting me.
Do you have it now?
Is the plan? Are you looking at the plan, I hope?
Yep.
Looks good.
Yep, we have it.
Yes.
All right, good. Basically what I've done, I put together an alternatives analysis. I kind of aggregated, the limited project provision requires that you consider alternatives. Riverfront, for the non-redevelopment requires that you look at alternatives. And even if you look at it individually, the BVW regs require that you consider alternatives. So I kind of lumped them all together. The language is not identical, but similar. So this is from the subdivision plan with the NOI. This is the proposed road. I do see Rob Truex is here, so Rob can help me if I stumble. So this, as I said, is the proposed alternative. Crossing is here. We've got presumed perennial stream that begins up in this area here. You can see the 100 and the 200 riparian wrapping around the top of where it begins to be mapped perennial. And that obviously carries downstream. Downstream is to the left in this picture, in this plan. So the crossing is here. This is the existing culvert crossing, which obviously would need to be upgraded and widened for a subdivision road. So that's the proposed alternatives. Worked with Rob and put together a handful of other alternatives, which let me rotate this. So again, this is what we're calling alternative 1. Again, similar road in, crossing is here. Again, you can see the riverfront, and then this would come around and connect out to the north up here. You'll notice up to the north, we don't have riverfront. Again, the perennial mapping ends here. It's mapped intermittent upstream of that and has a small watershed. So we concluded that it would be designated as intermittent, no riverfront. But we do have a lot of BVW up here. All this BVW drains down. We looked at the vast majority of this out on the site already. So this road to get in from the north end of the site along the property line actually can, with some effort by Rob, could be made to squeeze in around here. But we have a lot of disturbance and a lot of work in the buffer zone, including in your 25-foot buffer. This alternative, number 2, and Rob has some numbers up here on the top. This would bring a road down to the south and come across really at the same. It's in a lot of respects it's the same as the other. This alternative would not work from a design standpoint because of site distance issues. This is our number 3, is just this northerly access to come in here. And then, I should say, and this road was truncated at this length, basically to match the length of the proposed alternative. I'm using road length as an analog for cost, just simply because it's so expensive to build the road. I'm told by the contractors that these days it's on in the neighborhood of $1,000 a linear foot to build a road with utilities. And then this is a similar alternative, but longer. It's an additional 500 or 600 feet long, but coming in again from the same. And then if I can find my narrative here, bear with me, please. So this is from the narrative attached to that. So we considered, of course, the no-build alternative. The no-build alternative wouldn't satisfy the project purpose, but obviously would have no impacts. So these are what I kind of view as the metrics of the various alternatives. Again, the preferred alternative, 1,655 linear feet of road, 10 lots would be created along that road. You have 11,000 and 14,000 square feet of inner and outer riverfront. These numbers, by the way, do not account for degraded riverfront. So portions of that area, excuse me, portions of the riverfront alteration would be within degraded areas. The other metric that I talk about in here is whether that culvert that we talked about earlier, whether that would be upgraded, because the proposal is to put in a culvert compliant with stream crossing standards there. So obviously the alternatives that don't cross at that existing crossing would not involve that culvert, so there wouldn't be an upgrade. And then so the basic crux, if I can slide this out of the way, is that in order to avoid the crossing and the crossing of riverfront there, this alternative could come in from the north. There'd be significant close buffer zone alteration in there. But in order to get the same number of lots, which I use as a metric for, for the economic viability portion of the analysis, in order to do that, you have to build substantially more road. So we consider that to be not a substantially equivalent economic alternative. You could, to build the same amount of road and have roughly the same amount of road construction cost, you get significantly fewer lots. So again, that's the other side of the coin for the economic analysis, because again, the riverfront regs talk about substantially equivalent, and economics is a clearly stated factor. So based upon that, our conclusion was that there is not a substantially equivalent economic alternative with less adverse impact. So that's really it in a nutshell.
Okay. So in the limited project provisions in 1053.3, the charge to the Conservation Commission, we have in 3, determining whether to exercise our discretion to approve limited projects. We have to evaluate reasonable alternatives to the proposed activity. Okay, the extent to which adverse impacts are minimized, and the extent of the mitigation measures. So I think we can all agree that based on alternative 4, there is a potential reasonable alternative with less impacts. So Paul, if you go back to number 4, alternative 4. Okay. Yep, there you go. So the impacts to BVW and to riparian zone are completely eliminated here. And you talk about additional information, additional buffer zone impacts, including the 25-foot. Did you quantify the 25-foot no disturb zone impact by any chance?
I'm trying to remember if we.
I didn't see it. It's possible I missed that.
I don't remember. Did we put that on the table, Rob? I don't recall.
We didn't break it down that far. The 25 to 50 and
right.
50 to. No, and the other thing we didn't consider was in the disturbance areas during the alternatives that we look at, like number 4, we only took into effect what the right-of-way itself covered, the 50-foot wide right-of-way. We did not do any grading or do a profile of that road to show grading outside the right-of-way, which would be required. It would be grading that would go along with that. So it is a conservative number that we show as far as disturbance in the buffer zone, because there would be greater disturbance based on the grading for the roadway.
Yeah, I'm seeing here 31,000 square feet of buffer zone alteration. Now in the 50 to, that's in the 0 to 100. In the 50 to 100 foot buffer zone, no mitigation is required. But in the 25 to 50, of course, mitigation is required. And in your preferred alternative, that has not been provided anyway, but we haven't even gotten to that yet. And in the 0 to 25, that's a no disturb zone. That also would require substantial mitigation. So we don't have the information there, but Rob, I know some alternative 4, you don't show the 2 lots coming in off of Prospect Street, which were shown in the original alternatives analysis as alternative 1. They showed the 2 lots coming in off of Prospect Street as part of the subdivision. You're not including those as part of your cost analysis?
Where are which 2 lots are you talking about, Mr. Chairman?
Well, the 2 lots that were proposed in the original notice of intent and that are in your proposed alternative. I mean, your preferred alternative, coming right in off of E in Prospect Street, right above there. That access, there's 2 lots there.
You're talking about these
no,
2 here?
Those are A&Rs, just to the right.
Oh, the ones that.
Yeah, 2 lots were shown there. They're shown there in your original notice of intent filing, and they were shown as part of your alternatives analysis with the double cul-de-sac. So those 2 lots are part of the subdivision, should be included in your cost analysis. Yeah, right there.
I'm not following. Are you following, Rob?
No, I'm not sure which 2 lots you're talking about.
Well, you're not showing the 2 lots there because you subdivided it to not include the 2 lots.
Where are they shown, Mr. Chairman?
Right. Which they're not shown on this alternative, and they should.
Okay, no. What alternative are they shown
on? They're shown on your original notice of intent filing. You have.
So what lot numbers are they?
12, there's one of them, lot number 1, right there, isn't it?
12. I'll get the plan and I'll tell you.
I can't see with the gray hatching, but it looks like there's lot number 1 and these whatever's 2? Behind lot number 4.
These 2 right here?
Yes, sir. I think that's what he's talking about.
These here, is that whoever's speaking, is that what you're talking about?
I believe so. I think that's what the chairman's speaking about.
Can you zoom in a little bit there so we can read some of that?
Can you zoom
I'm not sure. That's my guess.
What numbers are those, Paul? I can't see them on the
Lot
screen.
1.
This is
lot 12.
This is lot 1, and this appears to be lot 12.
And there's also lot 2.
Yeah, there's 3 lots in there.
Yeah. Well, we don't think this one's going to be lot 13, is it, or 12? The one on the right when you go in, that one's not going to be buildable under the bylaw because it's all in riverfront. Doesn't have the upland requirement.
Gotcha.
How come you haven't withdrawn that from the plans of record? I'm looking at your revised plan of. Go ahead.
I just didn't remove it. No reason. I mean, just
So, I
because
mean,
it shows as a lot.
are not, the house construction is not part of the NOI.
Correct.
Well, okay, fine. Then
So let's go.
You have subdivided it as a lot. So
okay, so what's the issue, Mr. Chairman, with the alternative? What are you saying about these two lots?
Oops, sorry. What I'm saying is that I think that if you're proposing two lots, lot 1 and lot 12, then they should be included in the alternatives analysis for alternative 4.
Where would
that
you
should
include
be part of
them?
your cost basis.
But you would need to build the road here in order to create frontage for those, wouldn't you, Rob?
Yeah.
So without the road, I don't think you have a lot 1.
You don't have those without a road.
Well, let me refer to the. Let me see. It's really small. The original alternatives analysis that was submitted, preliminary subdivision plan, Prospect Hill Estates. I'm going to have to get a magnifying glass, but it shows 2 lots there.
I think that's the you're referring to the alternatives analysis that Lou provided, but I mean what we're saying, Mr. Chairman, is that this is I'm back to alternative 4 here, and this area, you know, you can't have a lot on this area without a road on which it would front.
Okay, and the alternatives analysis that Lou provided showed a couple of lots there. So you're saying that alternatives analysis is being superseded?
Well, yeah. I mean, you asked for a replacement, and that's, you know, we followed through on that request. So yeah, I would take his and set it aside because to, you know, you just can't have a lot without creating frontage or using existing frontage.
Okay, but you could still have potentially a lot in a roadway with a couple more lots in there. What I'm getting at here is, in order to have a valid alternative analysis, you have to look at all the variables, and that lot, that piece of land right there where you are now, has the potential for additional house lots, and that should be part of your cost basis for the alternatives analysis. That's all. That's what I'm saying. Doesn't that make sense? Because otherwise what you're doing is you're saying, well, we're only getting 10 lots, and so it's too expensive to build a roadway. And then down the road, you put in a couple of more houses, or maybe 3 more houses, who knows?
Well, that would have nothing to do with the alternative analysis because it's on this side of the wetland.
No,
it's all about the crossing.
I think that in order to have a valid alternative analysis, you have to evaluate the potential for the development of the parcel. And, you know,
I think,
as it says right here, that's part of the 1053.
So regardless of that, Mr. Chairman, if I was to develop 2 lots there, I'm going to have to build a road. So it's a moot point, because now you got to build more road to get 2 more lots. And, you know, when you start building 600 feet of road to get 2 lots, it's not cost effective anymore. These roads cost $800 to $1,000 a foot.
Okay, and so
why would we analyze that? It's not. We're trying to analyze the crossing, and what the alternative is to utilize the upland area on the other side of the wetlands. That's what we're looking at.
Okay.
We're not looking at the A&R lots down on Lake Street right now.
No, but we should be, because you've included them in your subdivision plan. And
well, they're included, but doesn't mean they're buildable until they're not part of the notice of intent.
They are part of the notice of intent because they are on the subdivision plan. And
they're on a subdivision plan as an A&R plan, but they're not shown to be buildable. We're not filing work on those.
I think what's happening
land disturbance.
They're A&R plans, but by including them in the subdivision, by including those A&R lots into the subdivision plan, you get 7 years under the planning board regs to extend the validity of the permit.
I can make that 1 lot and extend the subdivision regs.
So what I'm saying is that we have substantial resource areas there. And in the very first hearing, Rob, we said, look, now's the time to identify an access so you can access the upland portions of those lots, because otherwise, the way they're subdivided, you're creating your own hardship, and two of those lots may not be permittable. And
That's correct.
We talked about it. I mean,
you're absolutely correct. It may not be.
And so you're gonna take that chance.
Correct.
Okay.
But doesn't the, you know, in terms of the alternatives analysis and looking at you know, alternative 4 versus alternative 1, which is what we've been talking about in the past few minutes, the whether you count those frontage lots on Prospect Street or not, you know, whether you come in under the proposed alternative or on the north or alternative 4 doesn't change those lots. So
the A&R lots,
the A&R, the lots, these lots here,
right.
these lots 1 through 4.
I understand, and we're not arguing that point.
Okay, I thought.
No.
I thought that was the point, that we didn't.
No, the point that I'm making is that behind those lots is a piece of property. Yes, right there. And at the very least, a driveway could be put in there. A driveway could be put in there to access that for another lot. And that should be part of the cost basis for the analysis. You're saying $400,000 to $500,000 of additional cost to build a roadway, but some of that cost is offset by development of that parcel.
That parcel would need a roadway.
Or even if it's a driveway, it's one house.
It can't be a driveway, it needs frontage.
All right, so you put in a roadway and you can get two, and you know, the lot is big enough. It's 2 acre zoning. I don't know the land area there. All I'm trying to do is make sure before the commission renders a decision that all of the financial considerations have been addressed, so that in the event that we have a problem moving forward, we can say that the number that you've given us could be offset by additional income from development of that portion of the land. That's all I'm trying to say.
No, I understand that, and that's a very valid way to look at the whole calculus. But what we're saying is that we have this land, and when a road was proposed in here, then that was viable for, at least by frontage and area, for 2 lots. Whether the lot on this side over here was actually buildable is a different story. This one over here, I would think would be, because this is the riverfront here, and there's no BVW up here. But those lots can only exist if there's a road to provide them frontage.
Okay.
Is that a correct statement, Rob?
So I apologize. My confusion was created with the Lou alternative, where he showed a road in the 2 lots and a small cul-de-sac there.
Well, Lou's not here, so I'll make a joke and say that's because you were looking at Lou's alternatives analysis. You were confused.
That's a good point.
Rob appreciates my joke anyway.
I think I understand. So I'm going to ask Matt, our peer reviewer, if he has any observations or.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you, Mr. Chairman, that having a valid alternative that avoids the riverfront altogether,
and BVW
makes it difficult. I don't think we can proceed as a limited project. I just don't think that's a valid approach to permitting. And also under evaluating the project under 10.58, having an alternative, even if it's not preferred, even if it's, more expensive. And, the alternatives analysis discussion says that higher or lower costs taken alone will not determine whether an alternative is practicable. It really feels like it's pushed toward an alternative that does not involve a crossing of Hogue Brook.
And so if we go back to the DEP comments in the initial issuance of the DEP file number, that's exactly what they were saying. And I think we finally got to the point where we need to consider this. So
yeah, we're
all going to be out in the field. And I think this is another item that we can bring up for consideration. So it's going to be a busy site visit. And I'm going to request that everybody maintain a level of decorum, myself included. I think that we're going to need to provide this applicant with direction for what we're considering here. We're going to address the enforcement issues, evaluate the resource area, whether there's an alteration or not, and we're going to look at the degraded riverfront area. But again, as I said earlier to Lou, and he kind of went apoplectic on me, this alternative 4 eliminates all of those issues. So that's something that we need to keep in mind, and that is part of what an alternatives analysis purpose is for.
That's fine, Mr. Chairman, and I'm not suggesting we get into it now, but just want to point out that I did submit, as the commission had requested, I did submit a document with some photos. I tried to get good pictures. They're not obviously as good as being in the field of my my basis for characterizing degraded versus non-degraded. So obviously that's much more effectively addressed out in the field, but I would like to be able to at least show you in the field and to show Matt in the field what I was trying to show in those pictures, which
I understand.
I think they were, Paul, they were effective in communicating your thinking.
Good.
Yeah, I think that what we can do is, one of the things that is important is establishing or, recognizing that the portion of riverfront area that is eligible to be considered for degraded status must have been degraded as of 1996, prior to 1996. So one important step you'll need to go through is providing a preponderance of credible evidence where degraded riverfront area existed in 1996 as a starting point. And then we can look at what constitutes topsoil. And I'll actually, I've got a memo that I'm pulling together to share with you some of the I think the ways that we need to approach that evaluation of when you have a nascent A horizon or not. And that's sort of what you were getting at with your photos. So I think that, when we agree on what constitutes topsoil, which you probably are aware is not a soil science term. So we'll have to, kind of agree on that. And then we can go through the process of mapping out in the field where exactly you have no A horizon or a nascent A horizon, and sort of really parse that distinction between degraded and undegraded. And of course, the whole concept of degraded riverfront area is really, it's not intended to be applied in this kind of situation, but the language that they chose to right into the regulation, sort of open that door. So it is what it is. But you know, we'll give you some guidance on kind of the process that I think needs to be gone through to provide that preponderance of credible evidence of where degraded riverfront is in this circumstance.
And Paul, just so you understand, you know, this isn't our first evaluation of degraded riverfront area, and
sure,
it's always been, and it's only a policy, but the presence of herbaceous vegetation pretty much indicates to us that it's no longer degraded. And from a regulatory,
well, that's an interesting point that you make, Mr. Chairman, because I went through that not too long ago with Rob, in fact, on a site where the commission took that stance, and DEP soundly disagreed.
Was that
in a superseding order? There were it was a different scenario, because it was an area of you know, it was an abandoned dumping ground, which is another criterion. So it's a somewhat different scenario, but similar in the fact that there were some pretty substantial trees growing on the abandoned dumping area. I did a bunch of test holes, mapped out the limits of the dumping area. Concom said no, there's trees, therefore it's not degraded. There was an appeal, and DEP said no, the regs don't talk about trees in this context, and my delineation based upon, you know, soil holes to delineate the dumping in this case was the sole basis for the degraded delineation. So
Paul, just out of curiosity, which district was that? Was that Lakeville or was it Worcester?
It was Walpole, so that was Lakeville.
Lakeville. Okay. And the interesting thing is, and I don't know if you've run into it or Matt has run into it, but an unrelated incident that's going to illustrate my point is that the 50-foot setback to waters of the Commonwealth, we had a fairly aggressive applicant who was saying it's from the interior of the stormwater basin. And our contention was, well, it's from the outside toe of slope because that's the basin. And Worcester said, no, it's the interior wall of the basin. And an opinion from Boston said, no, it's the toe of the slope, but you're in Worcester, so that's what it is.
Yeah, that's why DEP gives us all fits.
Right.
At least, Mr. Chairman, you have, unlike Matt and myself, you have the luxury of only operating in one region.
Yeah, and I'll say Northeast region takes a very aggressive, or has historically taken a very aggressive idea of, you know, the smallest amount of rooted vegetation gets you out of degraded riverfront. So Paul, it would be wonderful actually if you'd share those decisions, because that would be interesting to see. And also, you know, someday this will get adjudicated and we'll actually have an answer. but until then,
hopefully not this case, please.
Hopefully not this case. Yeah.
Yeah, right.
But anyway, it would be useful to read those decisions always, just sort of in the information gathering capacity.
Sure. I don't know how clearly the decision relates to it, but I can at least provide you. I can at least provide you with my analysis and my basis, which was ultimately supported. But I'll get you both regardless.
Yeah. No, I think you're right. You know, it would be, as you've described it, it would be a different criterion on which you're evaluating. You know, that old dumping grounds versus lack of topsoil is a different issue. But like I say, always, there are so few decisions where DEP has weighed in on this question that it's useful to read them. And try
but the other, you know, my other point is just that as imperfect as the regs are, they're what we have.
They are the regs.
And you know, that's what we all have to live with. And my view in the Walpole situation was that, you know, the regs don't talk about trees in this context.
But it does say topsoil. Yeah, and that's what we're arguing here is the absence of topsoil.
I totally agree, and that's why I tried to, you know, I literally got down on my hands and knees and took those pictures. And and we'll have this discussion in the field. It'll be much more fruitful.
Yeah.
Okay, well, it's going to be an interesting site visit. All right. So I think I'd like to wrap this up.
When's the next hearing, Mr. Chairman?
I'm sorry?
I'm sorry, I had to interrupt. I was just asking, when is the next hearing?
Oh, yeah, I was gonna get to that. I think we made some progress. I think that much of the work that remains will be completed in the field. And when we come back for the next hearing, of course, we make no decisions. We come back to the next hearing. We'll do a recap for the record. And I think in order to be able to prepare for everything, I will entertain a motion. We've already voted to conduct a site visit. So the continuation for the hearing will be on the evening of October 26th at 7:30.
We would make that request for the record.
Somebody going to move that motion?
Oh, I second.
Okay, Ariane and Noel, any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, unanimous vote. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
I think we made some progress.
I agree. We'll make more in the field.
Agreed.
So we'll see you on the 15th at Saturday morning at 8:30.
Paul, I won't be that way. I'll be out of town.
Oh, Rob, you're going to miss all the fun.
I know. My niece is getting married. I got to be there.
Well, have fun.
All right. Thanks. Good night.
Okay.
Thank you all. Good night.
Good night.
Okay. Before we wrap up, Matt, thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you, Matt.
Paul, thank you very much.
Thank you all. Have a good night.
Okay.
Night.
Take care.
Okay. Look forward to continuing this.
Well, somebody does.
See y'all later.
Just a little bit of housekeeping. We have minutes for July 27th and August 24th. I'll entertain a motion to accept those minutes.
So moved.
Second.
Carry on. Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, the minutes are approved. We have a couple of permits to sign, or the determinations of applicability, and we also have a septic repair certificate of compliance. Is there anybody? Do we have availability for that signature? We can't wait until the 15th. So I can record this. And
how's Ann feeling? Is she going to be into work, or is it not something in the next couple of days?
That I don't know. But if you'll give me the time that you're going to be there, if she can't, I will make every effort to be there myself. And if I can, I'll let you know.
Are they ready to go, Cliff, or does she still have to type stuff up?
They'll be ready to go by Friday.
I can come down Friday. Just let me know what time you want me to swing by. You know, you're not in there all the time.
Okay.
Morning's better for me than afternoon, but I'll be flexible.
Okay. Anybody else?
And this Friday?
Yep.
Yeah, I might be able to get out of work early if I hit my 40. I can send an email out to Anne tomorrow and see where I stand.
Okay, fair enough. That's two.
I could try and sneak in Friday morning, Cliff.
Okay,
Yeah,
awesome.
I should be able to.
Okay,
I don't think I can do Friday.
okay. Well, could maybe Monday?
Possibly.
Well, why don't you check your schedule and see? Obviously, the more signatures we have, I always believe the stronger.
The more the merrier.
The more the merrier. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure I could do Tuesday because isn't that when the offices are open late, or is that only during part of the year?
I'm gonna let you submit that to Ann, and then she'll advise. Okay. Thank you very much. Exciting meeting, going to be exciting site visit. We got a lot of stuff coming up.
Do you have anything to say about the 700,000 square foot mega complex?
No, I have nothing to say about it. The hearing's not open.
Okay.
Not going to discuss it.
Well, I've discussed. You guys sent the info. I wasn't sure if you wanted us to consider anything.
I just wanted everybody to familiarize themselves with it. I think that hearing's going to be
October 12th.
Scheduled for the 12th. We don't have a time on that yet, but you know, this is going to be important for everybody to peruse and come up with some thoughts on. You know,
which one was this again, Mr. Chairman?
This is the WS Development 700,000 square foot warehouse.
175 foot loading, 175 loading bays, 109 extra parking spots.
Where?
It's the old shop site.
Behind Home Depot.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
I think we had an informational presentation.
Yeah, we did. I'm like, where could we sneak something like that into town? Now I know. Okay.
So now we have the plans. Just take a look at the plans, pay attention to the resource area alterations, and then we'll hear it.
Yep.
Okay. Thank you so much.
So, Mr. Chairman, real quick.
Yep.
So I did make it to Alaska, but I did the land end of it. So I went up to Denali, Fairbanks, and then down to Anchorage. And then from Anchorage, I drove out to the coast of Alaska and then back to Anchorage. So I did see a lot of Alaska in the 5 days. I actually saw a wolverine in the morning on a riverbank at a place we stayed. And I wasn't sure what it was, but it definitely was a wolverine. There's nothing else that it looks like it. And I saw, now the moose in Alaska, they're called Alaskan moose. They're different from the moose in Maine. So I saw a whole family of them in Denali, and took a Jeep and drove it to Denali. So it was pretty cool. I saw a lot of stuff. I went through like 5 national parks. It was 70 degrees in the middle of May in Denali. I was wearing a t-shirt. Fantastic.
Wow, that's warm.
Yeah, and then we did take a helicopter and landed on a glacier, and then got mushed around by sled dogs on top of the glacier. So we did a lot before I flew down to Seattle and went to get on the cruise ship, and 2 of the people that were on the land tour tested positive, and they wouldn't let us on the cruise ship. And then I got COVID 2 days later. So that's kind of how it worked out. But yeah.
You have to share some pictures, Brian.
Yeah, I'd love to see them.
Anytime. You know?
Yeah.
I'll have to get them on our website. I really haven't been messing around with computers because you're
because of the headache,
concussion, you're not supposed to be
right.
Things like that. You know, so.
Mr. Chairman, I have a Concom question. Is there a statutory requirement for publishing minutes?
Yes, I believe there is. I'd have to investigate, but I'm pretty sure there is.
Do you think if a local Concom had not published any minutes since sometime in 2021, they might be bending that regulation slightly?
Yeah, I'd say.
I would think so, but it's not us.
No, I another town, Medway.
I believe there is for boards, from what I've heard.
Yeah, okay.
All right, well, I'm gonna go check up on our,
Give her our best.
administrator.
Yeah, please give her our
Hope she
best.
feels
Will
better.
do.
Yeah.
So thank you, everybody, for participating.
Yeah.
Looking forward to seeing you. And thank you very much. Entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All in
Second.
favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, by unanimous
Friday,
vote.
oh, Friday morning sometime, Cliff?
Yep.
Okay.
Okay.
Have a good night.
Hey, good night.
Good night.
Good night, everyone.
Right.